So we're on page 381. I think this is where we left off. Let me see. This is where
I
my.
have 388, but I might have.
Oh, wait. You're on verse 38? I mean, 88?
Page 388 is what I have, but I might have.
No, I think I read all this already, actually. That's why. Okay, so verse 91.
Yeah, okay.
So verse 91 of Hatha Yoga Pradipika of chapter 3. The knower of yoga, perfect in the practice, conserves his bindu and the woman's vrajas by drawing it up the generative organ. Drawing it up through the generative organ. It is not just a matter of control during mathuna, which can awaken the higher centers. It is the appropriate combination of the opposite elements and energies. When hydrogen, gas, and oxygen combine, there is an instant explosion. Similarly, in the physical body, when the positive and negative elements combine, there is an explosion. When the union takes place in the nucleus of Muladhara chakra, Kundalini Shakti is released. At that time, if Vrajoli is practiced, the energy rises up Sushumna and the central nervous system to Ajna chakra in the brain. The purpose of the practice is neither indulgence nor birth control, but specifically to expand the consciousness. The experience has an impact that can last for hours, days, or weeks. When Vrajoli has been perfected, the expanded state of consciousness becomes a permanent experience. The Shiva Samhita states, know that the seminal fluid is the moon and the ovarian fluid is the sun. It is necessary to coalesce the two within one's own body. In fact, I, Shiva, and the seminal fluid and the ovarian fluid is Shakti. When the two are united in the body of the yogi, he attains a divine body. There are two processes. One is the process of uniting the sun and the moon through Vrajoli and Mathuna. Secondly, that process has to take place within one's own body. Only the guru can further illumine this to the disciple. Verse 92 to 94. Sahajoli Mudra, attitude of spontaneous arousing. Sahajoli and Amaroli are separate techniques of Vrajoli. The ashes of burnt cow manure should be mixed with water. After performing Vrajoli during intercourse, being in a comfortable position, the man and woman should wipe the ashes on specific parts of their body during the leisure time. It is called Sahajoli, and the yogis have complete faith in it. This is very beneficial and enables enlightenment through the combination of yoga and bhoga, sensual involvement. Sahaj means spontaneous. Sahajoli is an essential part of Vrajoli, such as Jalahara is part and parcel of Udiyanda. The description of Sahajoli here differs from other texts. Here, it is the practice done by both man and woman, which entails the application of ash. In Tantra, Vrajoli is done by men, and the same practice, when done by woman, is Sahajoli. In the Shiva Samhita, also it is said that when the yogi is able to control and stop the discharge of seminal fluid by means of Yoni Mudra, Vrajoli, it is called Sahajoli. It is a secret preserved in all the Tantras. These, Sahajoli and Amaroli, are only different in name. In effect, they are the same. Therefore, either can be used by the yogi, but all with due care. Amaroli and Sahajoli are two different means of preserving bindu. Amaroli is discussed in the next sloka. In the ancient tradition of Shaivism, ash is wiped onto the body and in particular onto the forehead. This is not only a mark to indicate that they are followers of Shiva, but also to raise the consciousness within the body and awaken the higher faculty of mind. Just as the application of cinder, which contains mercury, stimulates Ajna chakra, so the particular ash applied onto the body of Sahajoli influences the subtle elements, tattvas of the body. In preparation for tantric sadhana, purification of the body is achieved by a process called Bhutashuddhi. which means purification of the Pancha Tattvas, 5 elements. This involves pranayama, meditation, application of ash, mantra, and fasting. In the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, application of ash is known as the bath of fire and is considered as one of the highest forms of sadhana. It is not any ash which is used. It is to be ash of cow manure, and this is Paruna, the breed of cow. And in this Paruna, the breed of cow, it should be taken from and when, according to the moon phase, is delineated. The application of ash is not mentioned in conjunction with Mathuna. However, the use of ash is greatly praised. The yogi who takes the bath of ashes all over his body at the time of the three sanyayas quickly develops the state of the union, yoga. This bath of ashes is many times superior to a water bath. This is first mentioned by Shiva, who took the bath himself. He who applies the ash on his head attains the state of Rudra, Shiva, pure consciousness, while living in the body of the 5 elements, Pancha Tattva. The ash bath cleanses not only external, but only internal uncleanliness. There are 2 main paths to realize the truth. One is pravriti, the other is nivriti. Pravriti is the path of spiritual evolution by involvement in desires, ambitions, emotions, and all the modifications of the mind, vrittis, without renouncing any aspect of worldly life. Nivriti is resignation, the path of total retirement from the vrittis, worldly life, and society. According to the concept of the Vedas, the first 2 stages of a man's life, brahmacharya and grihastha ashramas, taking one up to the age of 50, belong to the pravriti marga, or path. In these 2 stages, the desires, cravings, and ambitions are necessary, and you evolve through expressing them. Then a period of transition has come from pravriti to nivriti. This is vanaprastha ashrama, the 3rd stage of life from 50 to 75 years of age, in which you reflect on your life. You begin to doubt and rethink, leading to resignation, the 4th stage, or sannyasa ashrama. The Bhagavad Gita makes it quite clear that you can reach the ultimate reality by either pravriti or nivriti. Pravriti, or involvement, is described in terms of karma or action and expression. Nivriti is the path of samkhya, or awareness and experience. However, there is a contention made by some authorities that the supreme or ultimate reality cannot be attained by pravriti, active involvement, but can only be experienced by nivriti, passive awareness. However, the Bhagavad Gita clearly states that those who work and those who renounce will both reach that end, provided they resign their ego, surrender their lower self, purify their mind, and discipline their senses. If they detach or renounce themselves from the idea of doership, an example, I am doing, then ordinary householders can reach the higher path. The path of pravriti, or involvement, is not for sensual pleasure and enjoyments. Sensual life is a byproduct. The real purpose is illumination, but it is a path which takes a long time. It is circuitous, and not dangerous. Nivriti marga is very difficult and even precipitous, but it is short. Here in this sloka of Hatha Yoga Pradipika, we are shown that the combination of yoga, awareness, and bhoga, sensual involvement, are compatible. In fact, as long as you are involved in the external world, the inner awareness must be developed, and yoga or union must be the objective. This is where Hatha Yoga becomes extremely useful, whether one is following the path of involvement or resignation. Verse 95. Verily, this yoga is perfected by virtuous and well-conducted men who have seen the truth, and not those who are selfish. Vajroli and Mathuna were never meant for the general public because most people are victims of their emotions and passions. The first requirements for the practice is a passionless state of mind. Maybe one or two people today can fit into this category. Only those who have entered the highest state of samadhi know what a passionless state is. These practices result in greater personal power, and if used by selfish people, they will incur catastrophes upon themselves and others. The story of Milarepa is a good example. Though he attained his power through other tantric means, nevertheless, the intent in his mind was to punish those who had caused his mother and family hardship. He put his power to an evil end with disastrous results, which far exceeded those earlier inflicted upon his own family. The purpose of liberating the energy through Vajroli is to go beyond personal identity and the limitations of the ego. If yoga is practiced only to gain psychic power, or if Vajroli is an excuse for any lesser fulfillment, the practices are being misused. However, there is another important point. There is a saying, knowledge purifies. Even if a person with the most selfish criminal tendencies, if he practices yoga, no matter what his intentions may be, his consciousness will evolve towards perfection much more quickly than if no practice is adopted. The higher faculties of consciousness and awareness will begin to operate, and the personality will slowly change as defective conditioning and unpleasant habits are restructured in the brain. The Shiva Samhita states that people under delusion and being in constant prey of decay and death in this world can make their pleasure and pain equal by control of the seminal fluid. A novice will not be able to find a guru to teach him the traditional method of this practice, nor will a guru teach any person who is untrustworthy or cannot understand the purpose of the practices. Likewise, we have to be careful when we read about these practices as interpreted by non-yogis, because incorrect descriptions will surely be given. The priest then, in the presence of all, behaves toward the female in a manner which decency forbids to be mentioned. After which the persons present repeat many times the name of the same God, performing actions utterly abominable. And here this most diabolical business closes. Precisely for this reason, many people have misconception concerning Vajroli. Only those who can comprehend the subtle laws of Tantra, Kundalini, energy, and consciousness can appreciate its significance and necessity. Verse 96 and 97, Amaroli Mudra, attitude arousing immortality. According to the Kapalika sect, Amaroli is practiced by drinking the cool midstream of urine. The first part of the urine is left as it constrains bile, and the last part is left as it does not contain goodness. One who drinks Amari, takes it through the nose, and practices Vajroli is said to be practicing Amaroli. The various Hatha yogic texts have different views as to what constitutes the practice of Amaroli. Amara means immortal, underlying, or imperishable. Thus, Amaroli is the practice leading to immortality. The Yatha Yoga Pradipika designates that according to the Kapalika sect, Amaroli is the practice of drinking the midstream of urine. The Shiva Samhita states that Amaroli is the practice of withdrawing the seminal fluid from the woman after it has been released. However, this has been previously described as Vajroli. Amaroli is most commonly accepted as the practice described here. Urine has been used as a healing agent in many cultures for centuries, but little has ever been spoken about it, as urine is generally considered to be unclean. Definitely the urine of people who take an unwholesome diet and those whose bodies are impure will be offensive because it contains toxins and metabolic waste that are harmful to drink or even apply on the body. However, the midstream urine of a yogi is pure and inoffensive. In Tantra and yoga, Amaroli is known as Shivambu, an example, the basic element of oneself. The drinking of the midstream of urine is highly regarded in yoga. There is also a science of urine therapy, but medical science has yet to look more deeply into it. The Gyarnarva Tantra states that after realizing the exact knowledge of Dharma and Adharma, healthy and unhealthy lifestyle, every aspect of the material world becomes holy. Stool, urine, nails, bone, all are holy aspects in the sight of that person who has explored mantra. O Pavarti, deity's divine power, are living in the water, in that water from which the urine is made. That is why urine. Then why is urine said to be contaminated? People believe urine to be unclean because they think of it as waste product of the same quality as feces. We should review this concept thoroughly, both anatomically and physiologically. It is not correct to class urine and stool together because the two are produced in completely different ways and leave the body by distinct and separate portals. Urine is an ultrafiltrate of the blood. It contains water, hormones, enzymes, electrolytes, minerals, and byproducts of protein and fat breakdown, which exceed the body's capacity to recycle them at that time. Therefore, these may be termed as waste only in the same sense that grains harvested by a farmer are surplus because they exceed the capacity of the granary to store them for later use. It is not that they are waste in the sense of being unclean, but only that their potential value has had to be sacrificed. Vital biomolecules such as hormones, amino acids, and enzymes are synthesized as great metabolic cost to the body, and their loss from the body must be considered as waste indeed. Furthermore, the human bloodstream is an absolutely clean living substance from which the urine is filtered and collected in absolutely sterile conditions by the kidneys. Nor is there any question of bacterial contamination in the urethra's bladder or urethra, provided, of course, no infection is present. Therefore, which part of this process can be termed dirty? Medical scientists will have to consider this carefully if they wish to understand the rejuvenating power of Amaroli. Solid waste is formed in an entirely different way. The digestive tract is unsterile from the mouth to the anus, and at no time has this solid matter actually entered inside the body or into the general circulation. It has remained only within the hollow digestive pipe, yielding up its nutrients without being itself assimilated into the body. Then what is offensive about urine? Urine, which contains a high concentration of urea, uric acid, and bile salts, has a definite pungent taste and objectionable quality. However, these constitute, oh my goodness, my mouth's not saying it, constituents. Are the byproducts of the protein and fat metabolism and are contained in only very small amounts in the urine of a yogi who consumes a diet low in protein and devoid of animal products. That is the first requirement of Amaroli. The diet should be completely fresh and natural without excess salt, spices, and condiments. Highly refined and processed foods should also be avoided. Under these circumstances, the quality of urine is transformed. It is not that the practice becomes ineffective or prohibited by a heavy, rich diet. However, objectionable qualities of the urine are avoided if a lighter diet is adopted. It is not possible to overcome mental conditioning about urine just by thinking intellectually. However, practice of Amaroli rapidly dissolves subconscious blockages. If you feel that your own urine is impure, it portrays your deep subconscious belief about your own body and its origin. Subconsciously, you have inherited the conviction that your body is impure. This deep-rooted defect must be eradicated, and if Amaroli is practiced for a fixed period of time, according to the Guru's instruction, this surely occurs. Scientists who study the body's biorhythms have discovered that during the day and night, various hormones are secreted sequentially. For example, pituitary hormones such as the growth hormone are released during sleep, while ACTH, which activates the adrenal glands, and TSH, which activates the thyroid, become prominent during the daytime activity. Pineal hormones follow a similar diurnal pattern. The various hormones are filtered into the urine over the nocturnal sleep period and are reassimilated into the blood when amaroli is practiced on the rising in the morning. This urine will accurately mirror the hormonal activities which have occurred during sleep. In this regard, it is the hormones secreted in the night, and specifically in the very early morning hours, which are the most value. Because in this physiological lull period, consciousness is withdrawn from the lower centers, and the secretions of the cerebral glands become prominent. The influence of Ridroli and Amaroli upon the human reproductive system is profound. The levels of reproductive hormones from the pituitary gonadotrophins follow a monthly rhythm in the female body to secrete estrogen and progesterone sequentially, which initiate and maintain the menstrual cycle. In the male body, the pituitary gonadotrophins cause the formation of spermatoza and the secretion of testosterone by the testes. Their level in the bloodstream vary according to the rate of sperm formation and release. Amaroli and Verdroli have always been known to yoginis as an effective oral contraceptive. This occurs because the reassimilation of the urine containing estrogen and progesterone effectively inhibits ovulation in the same way that the oral contraceptive pill, which contains synthetic estrogen and progesterone, prevents ovulation from occurring. The difference is that in Amaroli, these hormones are the body's own natural products, and many of the side effects of the synthetic preparations do not occur. Similarly, in the male, reassimilation of testosterone in the urine creates negative feedback upon the pituitary, inhibiting the further release of gonadotrophins. As a result, further production of testosterone and spermatoza is temporarily inhibited, reducing the sperm count, although the seminal fluid continues to be formed. We have to remember that Amaroli has always been a closely guarded secret revealed to yogis by initiation, but not to others. It is part of a system which evolves the human body into an illumined state over a number of years. What is the overall effect of long-term practice of Amaroli upon the human psychophysiology? Medical science has yet to establish it, but what can we postulate that it rectifies the inherent imbalance between the process of production and consumption of hormones in the body, which is the fundamental cause of the aging process. Scientists have always dreamed of a perpetual motion machine, which would run indefinitely on its own products, thus conserving energy for other purposes, but they have been unable to create it. Amaroli is based upon this principle. There are a few rules for those who wish to practice Amaroli. First of all, Amaroli sadhana is not suitable for all, and therefore it should be adopted according to a guru's instructions. Secondly, the amount and duration of the practice will be indicated by the guru. Thirdly, regular habits and lifestyle are necessary. Finally, Amaroli is a secret sadhana. Once you are practicing it, it should not be discussed in public. Certain experiences will come to you in yoga sadhana, which are known to the guru and can be discussed with him, but not with others. I'm just going to take a pause there for a second. I feel like I've been reading for like ever. This is all very interesting information.
Yeah, it's kind of different. I've heard about people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, when she first starts talking about these practices, my body goes like it is super uncomfortable. It's just like, and like so judgmental, like, ew, that's so disgusting. So I love how she like walks us through why that reaction happens. Like there was like a calming little passage when she was explaining like why we react that way, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's not for me, but it's nice to like learn about, and nice
Yeah, me too.
the judgment.
The thing is, she's like advocating for boga, right? She mentioned at some point, like, this is the practice of boga.
Yeah.
It almost, maybe I misinterpreted. And that's like very different than the traditions that I learned. And they were sort of like, you shouldn't participate in boga because it just drags you into the material. You know, she's like recommending and this is something similar with the Shaivites, people who worship Shiva. It's like they want to master the material world and get all the benefits from it. And in other traditions, they're trying to transcend the material world. So there's not so much focus on the manipulation of it, if you know what I mean. Or I see, I'm not sure what she meant by getting you to a point where your pleasure is equal, or like is equal to your suffering. That just seemed like a roller coaster ride. I don't know if she meant something different than I took it as. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
lost the new girl like a few minutes into the reading.
I know. I'm like, this was a hard one to slide yourself into.
Yeah, it's a hard one to enter into. We'll email her for Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough reading. It's like getting into stuff that maybe if we're not initiated into the tradition, we shouldn't be privy to. I don't know. The birth control thing was interesting. It kind of makes logical sense.
But even I agree with Pam in that it's definitely not. First, I was kind of repelled by it, and then the more she explained it, the more I thought, well, this makes a great deal of sense. This is nothing I will ever participate in for so many reasons, but no reasons now that are in that category of this is too disgusting for words. You know, I'm out of that category now, and I'm more into this takes a tremendous amount of discipline and practice and cultural appreciation, and I just don't have it. So I'm glad she kept writing about it. First, Pam, when you said last week this thing goes on for 300 million more pages, I thought, oh, holy crap, But now I'm thinking, okay, all right. I'm sort of glad to be reading it.
Well, that's why I'm like, I'm just gonna keep reading, because the more like it's not that I'm rushing through it. It's like I just wanted to get a good chunk read so that I feel like because we read so much, I was able to like grasp it more, because she, like, even just where we just finished, like, instead of picking apart the details on something that is so like out there, I'm like, oh, let me just learn it, and I don't have to like go into full detail on everything she's saying on this topic. But Amanda, I was just skimming backwards, and so the whole part where, of course, now I lost it. She's saying, she was quoting the Shiva Samhita, I think, and this might not be the same part you're talking about, but she says the Shiva Samhita states that people under delusion and being in constant prey of decay and death in this world can make their pleasure and pain equal by control of the seminal fluid. So I'm not sure if she herself was pushing it, but then if you go back a little bit more, she reminds us that in this sloka of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, we are shown that the combination of yoga awareness and boga, which is sensual involvement, are compatible. And part of me was like, how the heck did we go from asana to this part of the book? Because I feel like if we started with this part of the book, we would have been like, forget it. This book is too out there and too crazy. But I feel like because we read the beginning part of the book and it was very physical, and this practice she's talking about is a very physical practice. It just doesn't like,
Mhm.
I just have to remind myself that it is that.
It's making me think of the Ramayana. So you know in the Ramayana where they have they always talk about Ravana, who's an asura or a demonic person, having like all the control over the material world, where he has all these superpowers and he rules a whole island of Lanka is his. um he was a quote unquote bogey, is what they say in the Ramayana. And he's always depicted as this like thing that we don't want to be. Like you can gain all these yogic powers and you can gain mastery over the material world, but it's something that you have to. It steals your intelligence, right? That's the whole idea. That's what Sita represents. It steals your wisdom. It steals your intelligence, and it takes bravery to overcome the desire. That's Hanumanji's part in it. Like it takes bravery to overcome the desire to want to just be absorbed in the material, which I mean, in the Shiva Samhita, they're talking about like Maya, aren't they? Like Maya Devi, the illusory aspect of existence. Like, sure, if you're dealing with that, your desire is going to be to experience more pleasure. No?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, is that why the yogi's supposed to have discrimination? Is that why we're naturally repulsed by this? Have you guys seen that Unwell documentary on Netflix?
No.
There's a whole section on tantrikas, on tantric yogis, and it was very interesting, but a lot of it had to do with these gurus who were taking advantage of these women who would come seeking enlightenment. Whenever people ask me like, oh, I want to go to ashram, I always tell them be really careful which ashram you pick, because according to the tradition and the lineage, there's these guru men, and she kind of alluded to it in this chapter. I don't think she was doing it in a negative way, but they like take advantage sexually of these women who come saying that's part of the practice, and saying, I just don't know if it fits into the modern world. Like there's one practitioner who was doing it in a very healing way, which is different. But others were doing it in a very harmful way. And that's the problem with Boga.
Yeah.
It's easy to, it's easy to harm yourself and others when you're mired in the material. So I don't know. I've really studied in two traditions that don't involve those teachings. So I don't know.
I think though that like she is warning us almost, like she's not pushing, and it's almost like, and I feel like she's been doing this since the beginning, like this is not for everybody, like this bogo, these practices, the drinking of the urine or whatever, like, and so I think it's almost like for me it is like a warning, like be careful who you get yourself involved with. This is a very delicate practice, you need to have, like, I'm not going to go running out and be like, I need to be the perfect yogi, let me go find someone to teach me how to do this. Like I know in this modern world this is not going to happen in this lifetime for me, like I'm aware of that, but maybe some people reading this aren't, and they get, like what you're saying, they get swiped in by the bogey. I'm not going to just call them men because they're probably women too, but the bogey people. And that's why, like, for me it's just nice to be aware of.
Yeah, it's good to be aware of, for sure. But didn't she say directly that like you can reach enlightenment through boga? Yoga, boga, and
She says, and maybe in a different part because I read a lot, but in this one part where she says that yoga, awareness, and boga are compatible. In fact, as long as you are involved in the external world, the inner awareness must be developed, and yoga or union must be the objective. This is where hatha yoga becomes extremely useful in following the path of involvement or resignation.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. She might have said it in a different part. This is just where I am now.
No, yeah, as you read that, maybe I'm misinterpreting.
She says here, the path of praviti or involvement is not for sensual pleasures or enjoyment. Sensual life is a byproduct. The real purpose is illumination, but it is a path which takes a long time. I don't know.
Elimination of what?
Illumination. The real purpose is illumination, it says. It doesn't say of what. But like,
Huh.
Amanda, I'm a little confused about, you sound really hesitant and kind of like,
The boga thing made my red flag go up, like, because I've just like everything I've ever studied. I feel like they even discuss that in the Yoga Sutras, that like boga is not the way. So hearing that, I was like, what?
okay,
I mean, but it's interesting to hear, like, of being curious, because it's like it's a part of the material existence, right? Like there are these yogis and the bogies, and like there were these very long traditions of the bogies, and like, are they the asuras?
but I guess what my thing is, so like, I'm not like for boga. I'm not like promoting it. I'm just saying like it's a real life thing, right? Like sensual pleasure. Is that what she's saying? Like, and this is how we can live with it versus like the sutras are like, it's bad, put it under the rug. Like, I don't know. I guess that's how I'm kind of thinking about it more of like, okay, if we have to live with it in the material world, this is the technique you can use to deal with it. It's not for me. And it's not for everybody because they said you have to have a guru. So I guess I wish they would just put more present like techniques to use. Like,
I'm gonna reach out to my teachers about this particular thing and ask the ones that I know have studied, like the historians of yoga that I'm friends with. I'm gonna ask them
well, I just
to
know
clarify.
that I was like, thank God. My God, my brain is just going. Amit, I couldn't remember his name. I was like, thank God Amit didn't drink his urine in front of me. And then I was like, but that's where the judgmental. I'm like, but this is like now where I have to prop the issue. And I know we have to go into pranayama because I have to get my meditation going on. But like, who am I to judge what he's doing? But I guess also it's like he shouldn't be drinking that in front of me. It's a private practice. So like if it's something anyone does, they shouldn't be doing it in front of me.
Well, the urine, I've actually heard so many things about like a drop of urine in water being beneficial. I've heard so many things over the years about that. I think like even beyond the yoga world, actually.
Yeah, I was like, maybe this is the cure for COVID.
Well, they'll use in Ayurveda, there are certain preparations where they like they'll use like cow dung or like cow urine, like in a certain preparation where they humanize it, quote unquote, will take cataracts away from your eye. They wouldn't have to do surgery. It would just like get rid of the cataracts. When I was in India and Kerala, the guru came and he was talking to us. He was like this beautiful man. He must have been so old, but he didn't look it. He had these like beautiful chiclet teeth, and he was just wearing a loincloth, and he was like teaching us about cleaning our mouths. And he alluded to this whole technique of like, he was like going through all the things Ayurveda could cure. This, like, I was into Ayurveda before this, but like this particular guy really piqued my interest. Because he was so like beautiful and healthy and vibrant. But yeah, he was saying like with the cow urine. So I mean, there's definitely benefits to the urine. That's not even what got me. It was it was like, nope, maybe these are like bogeys, and like we're actually like getting privy to like all this information of these like bogeys and how they would practice, which is like historically interesting to me, but then makes me not want to participate in it personally.
I'll let other people try it first.
Well, there is use for urine in the Western world. I mean, I have been dealing with toenail fungus for much of my adult life. And I have had more than one person tell me, collect my urine and bathe my toes in urine, which I have not done. Not that I haven't peed in the shower, but you know,
You have to get the middle part of it.
yeah.
And it's good for on the Friends episode where one of them has to pee on the other one because
Just thinking of that, yeah.
Yes.
The jellyfish bite.
Yes. Yeah, right. But you know, when she talks here about urine, she's talking about urine that is really very different than my urine would be, for example, because it's based on someone who has taken tremendous care of the body and is eating there's got to be a better word. Well, you know, I would say, I mean, Amanda, Ayurvedically sound diet, right?
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. You guys remember Allie Hornbluth?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
She would so she would always participate in the cleanse with us, but she would always go like way longer than everybody else. And she would say, I know I'm done cleansing when I would be willing to drink my own pee. Because she would say like it would become like it wouldn't smell anymore, it would be clear. And the whole time you were reading this, I was thinking of her saying that. It's so funny because she was always joking about it. Like she wasn't thinking like she was gonna drink her pee, but she would always say like after the cleanse that it would change. Yeah. And it just makes me think of what you're saying, Sue. Like if you eat a Sattvic diet, an Ayurvedic diet, then your blood gets more pure, right? And then if this is a byproduct of the blood, like a lot of us don't realize that we always think that like the only quote unquote byproduct is poop. It's like, oh, your body's done with stuff and you just poop it out. But actually, Ayurveda teaches that like the nails are sort of a waste product, and the hair is a waste product. You have the sweat. There's like the teeth. It's like it's very interesting to think of it as like things that we thought were more important, I guess. Like they're important in that they represent what's going on in the inside of the body, but like I can look at someone's nails and see what's going on with their health. I could look at someone's hair and see what's going on with their inner health, just because it's like the leftover parts.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we're trained that way, so we're not like disgusted by it. And it's just like a matter of like if we all grew up drinking our own pee, we would think it's like fine, but we don't grow up.
Yeah, totally. It's a cultural thing.
I think that's a huge part. But
like Isabella and I are constantly talking about her poop because I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm like constantly examining her poop. And the other day we're at my mom's house and she goes, because she's allergic to chickpeas or something. So she gets diarrhea and throws up anytime she eats anything with chickpeas in it. So she pulls out a box of cereal at my mother's house and she looks at my mother and she goes, this will not give me diarrhea. And it's like totally normal to her. My mother looks at me, she's like, what are you teaching this 2.5-year-old that she knows what diarrhea is? But you know,
like teaching a child that about like what they're putting in their mouth and how it's coming out, and something's wrong. Like if the poop is coming out that way, then something's wrong. Like, and she should be aware of that. And that's something we should all learn as humans at a very young age.
But maybe we need to learn about our piss too, you know, like maybe we need to draw that into our culture as well. Like maybe there's some validity to that.
Yeah.
Well, to some degree it has been. I mean, there have already been, even on popular sitcoms, jokes about the color of your pee and whether it's intense or whether it's clear. And the clearer it is, it means the more hydrated you are, at least on the sitcoms. And that's considered good. So, I mean, it's already reached pop culture.
It's true.
It's coming. Next season, they'll be drinking the pee.
Oh. Only on a Netflix original, not on channel.
All right, let's move into breath and do some pranayama and then. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't make any sense. Let's move into pranayama and then meditate. Oh, so sit up nice and tall. Take a few breaths in and out through the nose if you need to do some stretching like me. Oh. Rainy Monday, New York. And then bringing your right hand over to your nose. Close your right nostril with your right thumb. Inhale through your left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Continuing on your own breath, your own count. Adding retention in the locks if it's part of your practice. Taking as many rounds as you need. I'm going to set the timer. Bringing hands together in front of heart. Namaste.